You know what's better than reading books? Buying books. I have a lot of books. This TBR is enormous. Easily like over 100 books that I have not read. In my efforts to counteract this phenomenon, I have done what any sensible person would do. I'm going to gamble. In my hands, I contain a tablet, and on this tablet is the magical, physical TBR wheel. There's over 100 books on this wheel, by the way. So many options. Everything basically that I have not read. So what are we going to do? We're going to spin it. Of course we will. You know I've copied this from other creators. So without further ado, I'm very nervous. Let's go. My next read is going to be Transcendent Kingdom, Yaa Gyasi. Okay, I'm all over that. The wheel has been very kind to me today because I already love this author. So by the magic of editing, I'm going to go away and read this, but it will only be seconds for you. Like, well, this was bloody brilliant. Yaa Gyasi, you are an auto-buy author for me. Your third book, I need it like air. Where is it? Because this was incredible. This book, it's not quite on the same level as Homegoing. I'm not going to lie to you. Homegoing is the superior book, I feel. But also, they do different things. So you should read them both because they're both beautiful, they're both well written, they're both great. This is a story that very succinctly, but also very eloquently, tells the tale of Gifty and her family, their immigration from their native Ghana to the United States, of all places, which I enjoyed the parallels there to Homegoing because like both books are like a transatlantic epic, but in this book it's like a happier reason because in Homegoing it's like they don't have a choice, it's the slave trade, it's horrifying and uncomfortable. This is the American dream. It's a family saying like we could be whatever we wanted in America, so they do, and they go to Alabama until they realize how horrible systemic racism can be. Something that was really unexpected but very welcome in this book was the involvement of behavioral science and using that as a rationale to explain all of the rifts that were happening in their family. I thought that was so well done. So Gifty, she becomes like a medical scientist. She's in like a lab at Stanford. She's working on mouse brains. She's working in addiction. And at the time, when you're introduced to this, you don't really understand why she's doing it. And then as the story progresses, you realise, oh, okay, she has sadly lost her brother, which is not a spoiler. The story presents that to you fairly early on. She's lost her brother to an oxycodone addiction because I think this is set around that sort of 2000s era when it was like at its peak and was really taking a lot of people's lives. So she loses her brother, and so that sort of spurs on her academic curiosity to get to the bottom of addiction. And when people go into this whole, what is their motivation, why are they doing this, and it was so good at being non-judgmental, and exploring something that touches so many people's lives and looking at it from the perspective of the victim without blaming them or making them feel less than. It was just, come on, this was very good. This writer has such an unbelievable flair for literary fiction, and it's not something that comes easy. What I love to do with litfic, I love to look up how old the writer is. I know that's so rude, but it's one of these genres where you sort of have to be wise beyond your years. And so I almost correlate how good a writer is to how much life experience they've had. So to see that Yaa Gyasi is actually quite a young person still and has put out these bangers, shocked, very shocked. Like, so empathetic, so fully realised and giving us like everyone's perspective. Very, very good. This is obviously not on the same scale as Homegoing. It's not a multi-generational historical epic that goes over centuries. It's much more tender, homegrown. Here's like a small family. You see when they're good together. You see when they have their bad moments as well and why that leads to them falling apart. but you also see yourself in the characters. So in a lot of ways, it's more personal and intimate than Homegoing. Like, that's what I mean when I say they do different things. I really think you should read both. Truly, my biggest critique is that it should be longer. It did end, I felt, a bit open-ended. There were questions that I had that were left unanswered, as particularly with Gifty. I wanted to know, like, what was happening with her relationship with Raymond, what was happening with her career, what was happening with her mother. It does not jump off a cliff, but I could have easily had another 100, 200 pages with this book. But if your biggest gripe is that a book should be longer, it's probably a pretty fierce book.